here at Northwestern University. 165 pounds, and boy, is it a rematch. A rematch from the Iowa State meet, brought to you earlier in December by the Big Ten Network, where Iowa's Ryan Morningstar upset Iowa State's John Reeder and won the meet for the Iowa Hawkeyes. If Reeder would have won, and he was the higher ranked wrestler, the Cyclones would have won. Well, tonight he gets his opportunity to turn the tables, because Iowa State's up by 2 points right now after 157 pounds. And so if Reeder could win this match and give 4 more points to Iowa State, it would go a long way for the Cyclones bringing home the Midlands trophy.
Yeah, it just doesn't get a whole lot more fun than this when you've got a head-to-head matchup against the two teams who are battling for the team title. I mean, that's just a fun part of the atmosphere. Well, I tell you, both of these guys scored a little bit of upsets getting here. Morningstar was seeded 3rd coming in, and he beat the number 2 seed. And actually, Reeder was seeded 4th, and he made it all the way to the final. So these guys have both slightly overachieved. Not in a big way. Talking about the difference between your top-ranked wrestlers, sometimes it's pretty skinny. But they've both overachieved a little bit to get in here to the finals.
Morningstar beating Marable from Missouri 2-1 in the semifinals. Reeder beating Howe from Wisconsin, but Howe had beaten the number 1 seed Mosafé from UNI in the quarterfinals. Iowa State still leading the team score by 2. It's 152.5 for the Cyclones, 150.5 for Iowa. Missouri in 3rd place, Wisconsin in 4th place, distant 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, Missouri did a good job here. I mean, they're sitting 3rd team-wise, and they actually did a good job. But they took several upsets in the semis and wound up with just 1 guy in the finals, where I think they were expecting to have 2, 3, maybe even 4 guys in the finals, and they wound up with 1. But they've come back, they've wrestled tough in the wrestlebacks, and they're sitting 3rd team-wise. Well, Morningstar's trying to push the action here.
Both wrestlers hard to score on. Reeder never got in on a shot. Morningstar in on a shot right now. Past the arms, in on the leg there, but good hip action by Reeder, keeping Morningstar. Morningstar's picking him up. What's he need to do, Mark?
He needs to get his hips underneath him, which is easier said than done, but that was such a difficult position for Morningstar to lift from, the way he was bent over. And you try to get your hips underneath you a little bit more, but Reeder was doing an awfully good job of keeping him stretched out.
Morningstar, a junior, no points there. A junior out of Lisbon, Iowa. He was a 3-time state champion. Lisbon just 20 miles up the road from Iowa City.
Yeah, Iowa is loaded with some very talented juniors on that squad. They've only got 1 senior on that squad. They're still loaded for bear for another year after this one. The Morningstar's done a good job of pushing the action.
We talk a lot about the Midlands and the quality of the competition. Dan Gable winning it 6 times, and then the big guns, ranked teams. 13 of the top 25, the ranked teams this year are here. Big Ten teams, there are 6 ranked in the top 20. That's how tough the Big Ten is. 11 conferences represented, 372 wrestlers, and 48 teams and clubs, and a great showcase, holiday showcase. Everybody finds out where they are and gets ready for the grind of January and February before the Big Ten championships.
Well, yeah, and your clubs don't always win a championship here, but they did this year with Chris Bono.
Chris Bono just winning it at 157 pounds. He's the head coach at Tennessee Chattanooga, wrestling for the Chattanooga Wrestling Club. John Reeder for Iowa State, riding here for almost 30 seconds over Morningstar. It's 0-0, and he finally lets Morningstar go.
I think Reeder did a smart thing there, because when you're on top, you can only stay hip to hip on top of your man for so long. You've got to come off his hips or eventually you're going to get called for stalling. And I think Iowa State did a smart thing there to cut him loose, because he had never come off his hip at all, and this way he stayed out of a stalling situation where he felt like maybe this guy's going to escape anyway. No sense getting warned for stalling at the same time.
Another shot in on the leg. Morningstar, and he's gotten to the legs a couple of times, but the hip action of Reeder has kept Morningstar from getting all the way in.
Yeah, the shot he had earlier in the match was a good shot. He came off of a head tap, and he got in deep. This one, he came with no setup at all, and he was completely stretched out. Never had a chance on that one.
Mike Allen calls a stalemate. We were talking about the quality of competition. Mark Massery, you were a Big Ten champion. You were an NCAA champion and a Midlands champion, wrestling in Northwestern.
I never won it as a Northwestern guy.
It took you being an old man.
I had to be an old man wrestling for the Mayor Day Youth Foundation and later the Wildcat Wrestling Club to win this tournament. Never won it as a Wildcat. Oh, nice finish.
2 points.
That was just a nice finish. He got a hold
down for John Reeder.
He just reeled him in.
Morningstar.
There was a lot of horsepower expended on that finish.
John Reeder already scores 2 more points than he scored the last time against Morningstar, as Morningstar won 2-0 in their match in Iowa State meet in Carver Hawkeye, December 6th. Like I said, Reeder was favored, the higher ranked wrestler, and if he would have carried it out, Iowa State would have won. Now there's the
here he's in on that leg, and he just finished it out. He just reeled him in, basically. He got in on the leg and reached and reeled the whole thing in.
Morningstar on top to start the third period. A little bit of a